Hey Earthlings, this is Tom Jacobs. I live on the web at tdjacobs.com and also healingsuicide.com. My main site's tdjacobs.com. And I'm here with one of my students and graduates, Jacqueline, who has fantastic ideas about anything you talk to her about. And one of the things that's happened through our collaborative discussions is her idea to, um, so to speak, concretize or put into tangible physical form these channeled affirmations that I've been using for years, and she's been using in the courses of the higher self protocol courses and things that a lot of my students and clients have been using for years. I think since 2016 or something like that. Like it's been a while. And basically, Jehudi, the Ascended Master I channel, also known as Thoth, Hermes, Saint Germain, and Merlin, had offered this set of channeled affirmations, and it's great. They're fantastic, but you have to write them down and put them on your fridge, or remember them, or put them all over your journal, or make cards and mugs and totes. So this is one of Jacqueline's contributions to this whole process of reaching people more and bringing some of these affirmations out. And I thought it was a great idea. We talked about it for a couple of years, or she kept reminding me for a couple of years. But then I actually had them in my hand. And so it's quite an effect to have the physical, tangible thing, not just like a list or PDF that I might email people or put in a blog post or something, the text, but to actually see a mug sitting on the table with one of these affirmations, which we'll get into. So, Jacqueline, welcome and thank you for playing and doing this. I want to talk about the cards of the mugs and the how to use them and how to print them, because we're going to have links to purchase them in the description of the video below. So
hmm
welcome. You've never been on my channel before, so happy to have you here.
Thank you. Hi, yeah, it's just been a great journey going through a lot of these teachings and noticing the benefits for myself, but also I'm quite a tangible person. I love to have
Hmm.
something physical, and then just designing some cards digitally and realizing that maybe selling a printable version would allow people then to print multiple decks. I mean, I know over time I've moved a lot or I've lost things, and
Yep.
so yeah, just the idea of a printable deck so that people can have them instantly. Me being in another continent, another country, so often shipping is a struggle, or it's expensive, or there's customs and
Hmm.
duties and import taxes,
Yeah,
and
exactly. Yeah.
and so the idea of a digital version of the cards that people could then print at their local print shop or at home, and they could print in different sizes. And so yeah, that kind of conversation led to
Yeah.
designing there's two different PDFs available. So if you're using the American paper size, or if you're using kind of the British and European and A4 as we call it paper size, you can print in different ways. And I also
Hmm.
like I have
Hmm.
two versions here. This is on thicker cardstock so that I mean, I write notes sometimes on the back, but then also we can print on paper and laminate them. So these ones have a bit of a shine. So I keep these ones by my bed actually.
Hmm.
And sometimes I take a look at them. But I've printed quite a few of these, and then I'll like keep one in my bag or in my drawer in my office. Or I
Hmm.
actually have some cards that I'll put up if there's an affirmation I'm working with, or if there's an affirmation I feel triggered by when I think about it,
Yes.
then I put it on my desk, and then it's
Yeah.
there for a while, and then I kind of keep reading it. So for me, it's been fun to have them in different places. And if you follow the link below, when you learn about the cards, you can see I ended up taking photos of them in different places and
Hmm.
on my altar, or on my
They went to the
fridge, or in the
beach. They went
car.
to the
Went to the
beach.
beach. They went
Yeah.
to the beach. So, and then we had some discussions and feedback from the other HSP students, and
That's the higher sub protocol classes. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and there was this idea of, you could print a deck for yourself, for your car, for your gym bag. If you ever move or lost it, you can print another one, but it's for personal use only. And then somebody had this idea where we were having a discussion, and I'd also had this idea of like, what if you want to gift a deck,
Right. Right.
to maybe your sister or your mom or something, and or a friend. And so we created the other option where you can, give a friend a deck, and it's just not for people who are giving it to clients. If they have client needs, or if they want to share it with a client, then they need to buy a kind of a
Hmm.
personal license, as we're calling it. So trying to think of the easiest way to get these
Yeah.
into people's hands. and then coming up with these different options, and
Yeah. Good.
through a lot of editing, getting the right sizing and checking it,
Right.
printed well. And
Good.
so, yeah, just wanting to give people a little bit more information about them, because we've emailed and let people know about them, but really really seeing
Yeah.
them, I think, and being
Yeah.
able to learn how to use them is one of the purposes of having this conversation.
Well, let's talk about some of the affirmations themselves, and then that more about like how to use the deck.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'll just say that these affirmations came through to me some years ago. I give them to people, and people say them, and it's great, like I said. But having a tangible thing can be super important. And so this idea is, it's 15 affirmations, and yet you can use them as an oracle deck. And
Mm-hmm.
you can, like you were referencing, which card triggers me. So I want to talk for just a second about how we use affirmations in Jehudi's workshop or in Tom's workshop. And it's to do the one that bothers me the most, meaning the one that elicits a resistant reaction.
Mm-hmm.
So if you say, in this moment everything's fine and I am safe, and there's no reaction inside, there's no second guessing, well, great, perfect. Move on to one that bothers you. Or that after you think about it for a couple of days, you're like, well, I just don't like that. I don't want to think that's not that way. That's not true. And so because that, when you elicit the negative reaction from a part of you, you're finding out who has the unhealthy belief. You're finding out who that person is. So, okay, great. Tell me more. Why is everything so unfair, or whatever it is? And then you get to know these parts of you. Now, it's only 15 cards, but you can cycle through. You can say this I'm just going to pick a card for this week. What do I need to focus on, or what's in my highest good to understand more about? And so you're going to cycle through the deck many times, is what I want to get at. And different things, because your unconscious area, everybody, is vast. Anybody's unconscious terrain is vast. And so I'm, like for me, I've been for 7 months, I've been living with my sister, and we have had stuff to heal, and it's been sometimes hard, really great though. But it's like, it's been 7 months to think about the last 50 years. And so it's like, that's not much time. And so, and the card I got when I first got the deck, and I cut them up and I shuffled them and I pulled it out, was, the entire human species is my family.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, I don't think that's true. And I went through this whole like resistance thing, but I let it sit on top of the deck for weeks, and I just let it percolate. So then I'm out and about in the world, and I'm like, yes, the entire human, and I kind of run it in my mind a little bit with I had it for a while as the oh no, it still is. It's the desktop on my phone. A picture of the deck as after I shuffled it,
That's
and then that one
awesome. I
popped
love
up.
that.
So I
That's a
see it
great application. Yeah.
all the time. Yeah. So
Yeah.
for me, I do use like a tarot card a day on my phone, but like I'm not so into cards, but this is really great. And so I'm about ready to shuffle up again in a few days and see which one jumps out. But anyway, so that's one of the kind of applications. And like Jacqueline said, the other photos you can see on the product pages, they went to the beach and whatever they're so there are lots of different things. For me, that oracle idea, what is it that I could focus on this week that would be very helpful, or what serves my highest good? That's like a huge way to use it. You can do it randomly too, and just shuffle and see what jumps out too. And
Mm.
yeah, so the mugs, I have a little different relationship with the mugs. I have not used them for liquids because they're kind of precious. I don't you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to, whatever. It's anyway, but
I don't have that mug because of my location,
yeah,
but I do.
yeah,
This is how I
exactly.
tend to like use mugs on my desk. As like a
Yeah,
little,
exactly.
holder. Um,
But this one, for example, this is another root chakra one. So they're organized by color, which you can see that in the cards themselves. Hold on. There are red, orange, and yellow. So yellow will be third chakra, root would be first chakra, orange would be second. And yeah, thank you. And so are the mugs. And so this red one has the message, I'm willing to see that all that's ever been in my life. Wait, I'm willing to see all that's ever been in my life as serving my soul's journey. Yeah, exactly. So I kept having this fantasy before I actually received them in the mail. This fantasy of like someone being in an office, minding his or her own business, doing his or her job, and across the way there's this like vibration. That what is that? I can't even read what that says from far away. But there's this vibration because these channeled affirmations vibrate. They're not just me saying, tell yourself you like yourself.
Mm.
Like they're from Jehudi, who's an ascended master who, you know, knows a lot more than any of us put together. And so I had imagined this thing across, somebody walks by this mug every day, the bright colors, whatever, and how this message can spread and how the grounding message. Another one is in this moment, I don't have this one, but in this moment, everything's fine and I am safe.
Mm.
That was the very first one I channeled years ago. Because Jehudi said, it's not that you're not safe, but Tom, you believe you're not safe. So therefore, you're manifesting all these accidents and weird things that make it seem as if. So change your vibration. And I was like, what? That actually started in probably 2010, 2011. 2011 probably when that happened. Yeah, because we're talking about changing karma. And he was
Mm.
like, your beliefs, change your beliefs and deal with the emotions that are attached to them, which is
Mm.
his and my definition of karma, beliefs entangled with emotions and
Mm.
and vice versa. So I just love having these tangible things sitting there. Yeah.
I think
What is
this
that
would be
one?
an awesome. I think this would be an awesome one to. I don't know if maybe my camera
Yeah,
is reversed, but this one
I'm
says,
willing.
"I'm willing to say no, thank you when I mean it." This would be an awesome one to have in an office mug, I think.
Yeah. Yes, it would. It would. Yeah.
And yeah, one of the ones that I feel like so, I initially was using this as a support to go through the lower chakra course. And so there were
Yes.
affirmations in there, and noticing
Hmm.
that there were areas that I was getting, that were getting sticky or stuck or where I was blocked. And so I've done that course multiple times. I mean, it's an
Yeah.
audio experience. Maybe
Hmm.
I'll say it from, this audio experience, and realizing a lot about the root chakra and how much it affects the others. But I remember doing a series of your daily channeled meditations. I think it was the 31-day channeled
Hmm.
meditations.
Hmm.
And just a lot of work I realized where there was, challenges that I was having in the solar plexus. And
Yes.
so at one point I was really, working on some of these ones. And I know that, in a session with you once, I believe Jehudi, or, you'd shared that, power is like that unshakable self-respect and self-worth and self-love. And
Yes.
so I really at one point really called on this affirmation: all my choices are based in self-respect and lead to self-care. And so that's been a huge one for me over like
Hmm.
maybe a year, where in many different instances, many different situations, I would feel, normally I would, what do I do? Or do I do this? Or do I do that? Or do I
Yes.
stay? Or do I go? Or do
Yep.
I,
Yep.
and really becoming more and more rooted in like, okay, what is the self-respectful decision for me
That's right.
here? What is the
That's right.
self-caring, which was not necessarily the way I would have normally made a decision. It would have been, what's the right choice, or what's the smart choice,
That's right.
or what should I do because I need this thing, or
Hmm.
and instead
Hmm.
just being like, no, I don't want to do this because it's not
Yeah.
self-respectful, even though my brain was like, no, no, we must do it. Or
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
that's been one that really, and I think having cards is useful because it's that reminder, because it's so
Hmm.
easy to have a PDF and know these things, but
Yep.
having seeing these cards, even when I sit at my desk, I'll leave some by the desk, or I'll, if I see them in the drawer, and it's just, even if I'm not touching them, it's also the reminder, oh yeah, and I just find
Yes.
myself in my mind repeating, even if I'm not looking at the cards, that because I've gone through them
Yes.
so many times and used them as a support, going through the chakra course, and then going through the HSP process, or the higher
Yeah.
self protocol process.
Hmm.
And then yeah, there's still, I mean, there, maybe we'll do a video in the future where like I still have a card or two that I'm like, whew, that
Yeah.
one's still
I think that would be great
or
to
like, here's
do.
resistance,
Yes.
or like, really
Hmm.
like, no, or maybe I don't understand this one. And so I've noticed that I have a couple of blocks in the sacral as well, and like areas
Yes.
where maybe, or it took me time. And I think that's the thing
Yeah.
as well. Like, this is not a like, oh, all my choices are based in self-respect and lead to self-care. I can say that all day long, but am I basing my
Yeah.
choices,
Are you
actual
doing it?
choices?
Yeah. And
Because
for
when it's
me,
there, and you literally at a crossword where you may walk away from a like 5-year relationship, and
yes.
that could be any type of relationship or a
Yes.
work situation. And I'm not saying walking away is like the answer, but looking that in the face and being like, oh my word, if I'm really making this a self-respectful choice, then
That's right.
there is actually a huge consequence to
That's right.
this.
That's right. And this is all about what we're aligned with. And along these teachings, with the Chakra Course teachings, the Higher Self Protocol, all these, just for the viewers, like Jacqueline and I have been having this conversation for years and years. So there's a lot of shorthand stuff, but the Chakra Course is, like she said, like an audio experience where it takes you through. It covers all 7 chakras, but it's in 2 parts. So 1 through 3, and then chakras 4 through 7, and it's a foundation of everything that I teach. And it's about getting inside what you're vibrating and why, and where things come from, why you believe things, why you don't believe things, and how to live more in alignment. And so the alignment thing is great, but I was just thinking as you're talking with some, when I say graduates, I mean they've gone through Higher Self Protocol 1, and they've learned how to deal with their emotions and energies and ground in a certain way that opens a door for communicating with their spirit guides and others' spirit guides. And then Higher Self Protocol 2 is lots of practice communicating with guides. And then the third class is mediumship, which changes gears just a little and adds to the toolbox to talk to deal with dead people and understand where they're coming from, and effectively with good boundaries. So anyway, when I say graduate, I mean these people have spent a lot of time with me, sometimes over a couple years, really learning this advanced stuff. But let's say in a reading or in a coaching thing or a class call later, one of them will be on it and they'll say, yeah, I'm up against a wall here. And I say, all of my choices are based in self-respect and lead to self-care. And they're like, oh yeah, of course, I forgot that. So even very accomplished, wise, smart, spiritual seekers who have learned a lot of what I can teach them, we all forget, is what I'm saying.
Mm.
And so it's so important. Like, you've been inundated in this, you've been swimming in these waters where some other people might go to the park and see the little lake or whatever. You've been swimming in it really deeply for
Mm.
years.
Mm.
And the physical reminder is so important. So I just want to emphasize that, we're all, well, I don't want to say susceptible, but it is inevitable that we'll forget the best
Absolutely.
teachings that help us. And
Because
so
I mean, in
having
my
this thing
experience, because
sit in the corner,
I have a habit of doing things a certain way, and then suddenly I keep hearing this affirmation,
that's
and
right.
one day I think, wait, I don't like this, and what's going on here? And then I might
That's
look
right.
at the cards and be like, I am not how others have or have not treated me. Okay, oh wow, like,
Wow, yeah.
oh, that's a potent one, and then you're like,
Yep.
and all others in my life show me what I can own and embrace and own and release, and that used to be a super triggering one, and I think that would
Yes.
actually be a future very interesting conversation, maybe if you're
Yeah.
open to that.
Yeah, I'd love
Um,
to. Yeah.
so for me, just I even there's an affirmation that's not in this lower deck, but but maybe I'll share it here because I think Tom and I have discussed maybe doing a extended lower chakra deck because there's a lot more affirmations that have been
Yeah.
channeled now since the root chakra incubator,
Yeah.
and so maybe if there's if this is supporting people and there's good feedback, then maybe doing an expanded lower chakra, but maybe at
Hmm.
some point even some of the higher chakras. But I know that there's just this common Jehudi, affirmation that I found myself saying over the years and really struggling and resisting and being like, no, but or
Hmm.
and I want
Hmm.
to believe it, but like the other day I had an experience where I just realized I said it in my head and it was not forced and it was like automatic that I suddenly was like, no, I don't owe anybody anything and they don't owe me
Yes.
anything. And so
Yes.
there's this affirmation of I don't owe anybody anything. Or how would you say
Yes.
it, Tom?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, this is kind of can be a longer one for most people. It's important for it to be So I don't owe anyone anything, but I'm free to participate.
Mm.
or I'm free to be in
Nobody
relationship. I'm free to
and
choose to
nobody
be
owes
here, but
me anything, and that's
nobody
also
owes me.
like because I'm like,
That's
no,
right.
but they do,
That's right.
or
That's a
and
huge thing in all human relationships because when we start as kids, we're helpless and clueless, and we definitely, certainly do need certain things. And then we grow up and can become more self-sufficient. But if there's like unmet needs in the lower chakras, it gets complex. And then we're like, yes, and how I got into all of this was Judy saying, Tom, you have to deal with your daddy issues and your mommy issues. And I was like, how dare you? And he was like, if you want to grow, you have to deal with this root chakra stuff. And even as we speak today, it's late July, teaching the root chakra incubator, which begins officially on July 26th. Today's the 23rd. And it goes into that whole foundational thing. And those people are working through the root chakra MP3 of the Chakra Course, the first of the 7, and also a bunch of channeled teachings and whatever. And we do a bunch of coaching calls and classes. But that thing about we ignore the lower chakras
mm,
because we're up in our heads. I'm a fully formed adult. Heck, I'm 51 years old. I know what I'm doing. And then our brains run our lives, and then stuff doesn't go well, and we sometimes become seekers of spiritual teachings, and
mm,
sometimes we end up in Tom's workshop or Jahudi's workshop. And yeah, so that sense of we don't know how important these lower chakra things are until we get into it. And I
mm,
feel really clear to say to people, if you get into it, you're going to find a bunch of stuff. Do not put pressure on yourself to magically work through it in 3 or 4 days.
mm,
It's deep stuff that forms a foundation of your life, and you don't know how important it is because spiritual teachings typically have you trying to move up in the chakras. And Jehudi
mm.
says you have to move down, establish a firm foundation in the root, the first, and then build up. And that's kind of what our process is with all my students.
I
And
think
it's
that's why
so
your work
effective.
is so transformative, because I think that's also one. I mean, I think I first connected with you in maybe 2016 or
I
17. I
think
mean, that's
so.
7 or
16,
so
yeah.
more years ago,
Yeah.
and at that stage, I'd been very, I'd grown up very religious, and then I'd kind of left that and went to spirituality, and met a lot of people that are very much, we're awakened, and we're
Yes.
trying to awaken, or
Yes.
transcend, or and then realizing like a huge amount of dissociation and a huge amount of like all
Mm,
these dark
yeah.
sides of the spiritual world, and then coming across your teachings and or your work, and then feeling this resonance, because I was having this struggle like, wait, these are things people are saying, but something feels off. And then
Yes.
finding, and I think over these 7 years, applying and learning and being like, yeah, I didn't know what was not working for me in these other spiritual teachings, or
Yes.
why there was conflict, or why what people were saying is not what they were doing, like this
Mm-hmm.
incoherence, or like non-congruence maybe is a better word. and
Mm, mm,
and
mm.
so over time, like really finding myself more, I want to say grounded, but more at peace with spirituality through this deeper, heavier,
Yes.
darker, I wouldn't say darker, but like, um I feel like you're very real, and the work is very real, and you don't just buy a Tom Jacobs Jehudi course and do it in a weekend. Like,
Yes.
it's gonna be this tool,
Yes.
and so I think
I
sometimes people
upgraded
don't
my
realize.
consciousness on Tuesday.
And I think at first, like for me, I think I've told you over the years, I've always have
Yes.
this like level of skepticism, and like, is this
Yes.
working? Like, program
Mm-hmm.
Crystal, really?
I
Like,
know.
and
Energetically
and
infused. Yeah, like what the
but
yes.
continuously like
Yeah.
feeling drawn back to the material, and being triggered as hell on things, and
Mm-hmm.
like, I think the one thing that is quite about this, the work that you offer, is like, I think some people think, oh, like 3 audios, what's that going to do for me? Or like, or I'm not saying they're thinking that, but like, more people are like, oh,
Well,
this is a
sure.
21-hour course, and it's 7 months, and you're like, here's this
Yes.
audio thing for
Yes.
$100. I mean, it's, most
Yeah.
people are charging like thousands for stuff, and you're like, here we go. And I think so, it's almost like unassuming, but when you get in there, you're like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
this is something you're going to listen to again and again and again and again,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you are a person that wants to liberate and
Yes.
feel more empowered. And So it's really this unassuming thing that can literally change your life, but it's not
Yeah,
a weekend course. It's not a month
that's right.
course. It's going to be
That's right.
something that's going to be with you over years or decades if you want
Yeah,
it to be, because
yeah,
I keep going back and sometimes then I need a break because it can
of
bring,
course.
so bring up so much stuff,
Yeah. And
unhealed
so
stuff.
in that context, these cards are like so tiny, but that physical, tangible reminder of the call, the invitation to self-awareness. I can say it all I want, but I mean, I think among all of my advanced students, graduates, you really have, evidenced the the kind of deepening self-awareness that I want, that I'm aiming to have people undertake but you can't tell them that. They have to go to the
Mm,
process where they're like, oh, why am I behaving this way? Or why do I feel, and take the teachings and really get into it. And so it's an empowering path. And
mm,
I think the cards and the mugs, I mean, you're not going to have 15 mugs, one for each thing, but like getting the cards and then like selected mugs, like that have the messages. It's just a way of anchoring it, on the table across the room. Like in
mm,
this moment, everything's fine and I am safe. And it's a way of
mm,
anchoring that this thing you can choose to incorporate energetically, and it will change things because part of you will say, well, I wasn't safe when this happened. And you say, oh, okay, great. Let me talk to myself and figure that out, or come to class or come to coaching. But the thing about I'm safe, that started with that one day when I was talking about whatever with Jehudi. I remember exactly where I was too. I was on, I actually sent a friend a few months ago a picture of the street corner with an X where I was standing. But I was with my bike waiting to walk it across a crosswalk in downtown Tucson in front of the Hotel Congress. And we were trying to have my helmet on. And I was like, all set up. And I was talking to Jehudi, and he was like, it's not that you're not safe. You believe you're not safe. So he
mm,
said, here's this affirmation. And I was like, well, my mind is blown. And he said, yes, because you don't know how powerful your thoughts are.
mm,
Most people don't. And then you get into these spiritual paths and New Age teachings, and you find out your thoughts are very powerful. But how to upgrade in a compassionate, gentle way, well, it's creating self-awareness. Why am I behaving like this?
mm,
Why do I believe this? Where does it come? And then just dismantling it. But then it turned into, over several years, because I had moved after this, he would have me look out my office window at the Santa Catalina Mountains in Tucson, and he would say, look out the window and do that affirmation. And I'm looking at the Tucson Valley, and I'm like, in this moment, everything's fine and I'm safe. And I realize, yes, there's no flaming asteroid coming for my house. There's
mm,
no Mongol hordes coming to get us. There's no you know, herd of T-Rexes running to kill us.
mm,
Everything is fine. And so retraining myself from the inside out, but these beliefs are really prevalent when we have trauma or whatever.
mm.
And so all those
Yeah.
cards, the 15 affirmations, doesn't sound like a lot when you think about card decks and oracle decks, where you're dealing with,
40
dozens.
or 60
Yeah,
or something.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, or even the tarot, which how many? 70, whatever. Um, so it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's like getting to these deep issues we don't typically confront. But when we do, and we're in process, this is kind of where I want to go with this. When we're in process, because it is so rich and deep, and the unconscious is vast, the root chakra relates to the unconscious,
Mm,
and memories from all millions of different lives. But when we're in process, we're attending to certain things. Many things flow more easily. So let's say that
mm,
I have, I don't know, 2 billion problems in the root to work through from millions of lives, right? Mommy didn't love me, and I didn't do this right, and I got punished, or
I
whatever it
lost my
is.
head when I spoke up.
Yeah, exactly. All those things like in the root, like buried. Well, let's say that I really work on having lost my head, or mommy doesn't love me. There's still, billions left, but I'm consciously providing conscious intention and care and compassion to those issues. So the whole landscape changes slowly. And then you have people who are like, now I understand why I behave that way. Aha. I
Mm,
can be kinder and gentler to myself and accept somewhere in here as I'm a work in progress, always learning as I go. What are the yellow ones? Anyway, yeah, I accept that I'm a soul learning through making choices.
Mm,
And I can accept that and be more compassionate, self-compassion, right? Self-acceptance and self-awareness. But I would just say to you, like, you're one of those people who's really, as I said, evidenced the kinds of results I hope for, that I intend. And
mm,
not doxing your whole emotional journey, but I noticed it, and then you commented, I understand so much more. This was a couple of years ago, about
mm,
my anger.
mm.
And I would
I would,
say to anybody, it means you're a passionate person.
mm,
But if we're responding from any of us, and I have the anger thing too, I've told you
mm,
a billion
mm,
terrible stories,
mm,
but embarrassing things. But but if I'm aware of it, I manage my energy differently, and what causes the anger can become passion and inspiration. And so we're
mm,
not anyway. So it's just this deck thing seems so simple, but
mm-hmm.
you as anybody, any of us as a human with such complexity, it is not simple. It is a tangible,
I think
simple
that was a
tool.
thing for me, quite a thing for me, because I was like the straight A student in school, and everything I studied, I did well at. I was very
Mm,
cognitive, I was very
mm,
yang, and then here I am, like doing the stuff that's not like, oh, you just tick the boxes and you read it and
that's
and
right.
you're done, or
That's
you
right.
do the seven things and you get an A, and suddenly I'm like, whoa, like, I think I persisted because I could feel that, like, these resources, these tools that you'd created was
Hmm.
helping and working. I just didn't realize it would take this long. And
Of course.
I actually said to somebody, one of the alumni in Higher Self Protocol, I think even yesterday or today, that I'm starting to see now, like in retrospect, that I mean, for me, the HSP journey was a lot about my relationship with my own self, with my own emotions,
That's
sitting
right.
in a call and noticing, oh, I'm really triggered by something somebody said, or
Hmm.
something that just happened. And in the past, I would be then defensive or speak in a I don't feel
Yes.
like I very often actually bring my anger forward, because mine is like, I don't want to
Okay.
burn people or hurt people, but I
Yeah.
would feel like a volcano inside of me. And sometimes
Yeah.
people would notice that and be like,
Yeah.
whoa. So I wasn't someone like expressively angry, but I would feel anger rising
Yes.
easily. And then but then
Yes.
I had, learned how to suppress it. And then it was really not good for my health. Or then maybe with someone real close to me, I'd explode, and not like crazy, but, just be more reactive, or
Yes.
feel this is just overtaking me, this,
That's right.
and now I need to process it for days or weeks or months or
Hmm.
whatever.
Hmm.
Whereas now I was able to look and be like, wow, like, learning how, through the 7 years or whatever that I've been exploring, these topics, and yes, other things, there is that space, that I'm noticing, like, oh, I could go on that tangent of thought or belief, or
That's right.
want to react with this person, but through experience realizing, like, this person is nowhere near the level of, like, awareness for us to have the conversation that I want to have, so I
That's
have to
right.
have it with
That's right.
myself, or
That's right.
with the cards, or with Tom in a coaching session.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and now I almost feel like I'm able to look back almost on myself, like, wow, that was a huge amount of, like, courage and diligence to keep going, because for a long time I felt, and I actually just realized, I think I found you soon after my Saturn's return, and now I'm at my Pluto square, which is the intense
Hmm.
experience that I've been having over the last year.
Yes.
And this
Yes.
work, I'm now seeing and being able to look back on this, what, 8 years, 9 years, ten
I think
years,
8 years.
not with, yeah,
Oh yeah. Well,
but
with
just,
me, yeah. But otherwise,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
but just be like, wow, it's, I mean, just night and day. And I don't have to, sometimes I'll have to say, because I might have a weird thought, like, I'm safe, but I'm starting to feel safe in my
Yes.
body. And
Yes.
because I'm a little bit more, I wouldn't say in control, but, like, I can sit and notice the fire rising, or the
Yes.
anger rising, and the frustration. And instead of just feeling that, like, irritation, or needing to take it out on someone or myself, or repress, I'm able to like, somehow there's been, like, a dissolving of some of the intensity, or I just have more capacity. I'm not really sure. I think it's
Well,
a
yes.
mixture.
Good point. Yes.
And I think it's many things. So this is one of the tools. The
Yes.
cards is
Right.
one of the tools. The
That's
chakra
right.
course is one of the tools. The coaching, the higher self protocol,
Yeah.
the Pluto
Yeah.
work. But I can say that this, it has been, useful, and ended up with, being a creative project. And there's a few
Yeah.
more ideas for the future, but
Yeah.
wanting to share with people that this very unassuming, I can't remember what the personal license is costing, but very, a small
The
amount of
personal
money.
license is 22 US dollars, and the unlimited friends and family printing is 55.
Oh, yes. Thank you for
Yeah,
remembering.
sure. Yeah, yeah.
So, so that's such a, but I think that's such a beautiful thing to both have and gift. And,
Yeah.
even if you don't have a lot of money, it's something that
Yeah.
it's even the small thing could make a massive, massive
Yeah.
difference, even if you can't get the chakra course. But paired with the chakra course, it
Yeah.
makes it even more potent.
And I don't want to just reiterate something that's so important. We will all slip off track. So we gently come back, because the parts of us resisting, we must listen to them. And but the one that was one of the ones that was really tough for me for years was, life is always, or I am always supported. Life is always supportive. Man, that would set me off, and I'd have to remember to be gentle with myself and not shame the resistant reaction,
Mm,
which looked like string of expletives. That's not true. Like, and
mm,
I'd want to scream and whatever. And I can make fun of myself now by using funny voices, but it was real. Like, the struggle was like crazy, because part of me was like, well, this is what I'm not supportive. This is, I'm even dealing with
Look
that
at all
still
this
today.
evidence.
Look at all the evidence, and it's a hurt
That I
inner
am
kid
not.
who's dragging around piles of files to bring him into the courtroom and set him up on the table. They can't even see over them, the stacks of evidence, to complain about how things are unfair and I'm not supported.
Mm,
And I'm even dealing with it now, because I have this like royalty thing every quarter from the software publisher. And there's just an energetic thing that comes up about feeling supported or unsupported. Even
mm,
just now, like, because we're whatever in the seventh month, that's after the second quarter is completed. So I just go through this thing 4 times a year, and I'm like, I'm still a crazy person from this one thing. And it's like, no, just keep looking at it, because you're going to slip off track. You're going to become ungrounded. And that part of you is going to say, well, I'm not supported at all. And
mm,
then my sister, I'm having these conversations with her since I moved in with her 7 months ago, because her thing about money is, let the universe take care of it. Let God take care of it. Everything's fine. Well, now I would teach that in a certain way, but when it comes to my stuff, I'm like, no, and so I just bite my lip and I listen,
mm,
because I know she's onto something. I'm just not there yet. Anyway, the cards, the mugs, the affirmations. I just want to really reiterate, you're doing it right if they're scrambling you and you're messed up and you're angry and you're sad and you're hurt. You're doing it right if it looks like they're not working. Because affirmations, if you just say, life is sunshine, everything is wonderful, and then part of you goes, well, I don't want to hear that, and you suppress it, then you're trying to fake it till you make it. You're not dealing with the reality of how you have been shaped as a person.
mm.
And another idea is, any of us, I have the right. I mean, it is a fact that I'm shaped by my experiences, but let me learn to intentionally approach my feelings instead of only being reactive. And so you were saying not control, and I would say we learn to manage our responses, learn to manage our emotions. But if we try to control things,
I think
we have
it's also a
trouble.
level of, as I'm hearing you, like, and I'm thinking about it, like self knowledge. I think one of the huge
Yes.
things is around that. So noticing over time, when you only ever react one way, let's say to shout, which I wasn't one like that, but I've known Aries people
Mm,
who can breathe fire, but it's like woof, like a dragon.
yeah.
It's like, and it's gone. It's not like this passive. So learning over time, like, okay, this is what happens for me. Something happens, I'm triggered. And now I have this tool of the grounding meditation or whatever over the years. Okay, so I don't have to do the whole meditation. I can just hold the crystal or even think
That's
of the
right.
crystal. I don't even have
That's
to go
right.
there, but
That's right.
just like I'm going to ground the energy. So, okay, there's a flare. I feel really angry. So I can stop the thinking of like who said what and how.
Yes.
Ground, wait, breathe, let it like so becoming more this
Yes.
that self-knowledge of this will pass. Now as the energy of the intensity passes, which if I had to say it at that time wouldn't land and well and come across well to the other person, they're like, whoa, she's even if I was to manage it, people would be like, scary,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know,
Yeah, I
because
do.
I have a potent energy, but even if I ground it, so okay, now I'm able to be like, hey, I'm noticing I'm actually feeling a bit vulnerable, and
Yes.
so I'm able to speak more self-responsibly
That's
in a
right.
way that might land, it might not land, or the other person
Mhm.
may, and even if the person then deflects and say, oh, sorry, you were offended, then I'm able to be like, okay, actually, I'm trying to share with you the words that you shared were really, and so I'm
Yeah,
able to have a better dialogue with myself
that's
and
right.
with others. And I'm just thinking now when I'm hearing you speak about the cards, like I'm a very visual, metaphorical person.
Mm,
But you said we're shaped by our experiences, but I also more and more realize I'm shaped by the meaning. I think Jehudi says that, but like the meaning I made it, like if something happened, I made it be that I was rejected or I
that's
wasn't
right.
wanted or I wasn't chosen. And
That's
over
right.
time, being like, oh, okay, somebody else like doesn't have a preference for coffee or chai lattes. So I don't have, it's not personal. Like they don't like the taste of that. It's got nothing to do with me. Plenty of people love chai lattes. But
That's
if
right.
somebody is reacting to me, I didn't have to make it so personal. And I could over time change the belief around I'm unwanted. Why does nobody want me? Why does
That's
nobody
right.
choose me?
That's right.
To like,
Mm,
what all others in my life show me what I can own and embrace and own and release. And still
yes.
working on that one
Yes.
specifically, but I don't like I'm not how others treat me. If somebody treats me really poorly,
That's
it doesn't
right.
mean I deserve it. So it's
That's right.
almost like when I'm thinking of these cards now, the actual card is just so that we can see it, just to make it physical.
Yes.
The
Yes.
affirmation with the energy is almost actually like I'm feeling now as we're speaking like a software upgrade, and you don't
Yes.
just upgrade your software once, you keep upgrading. So almost like that,
Hmm.
the vibration of the cards continue to upgrade my mindset or my perception about what is happening, even if at first it doesn't feel true and doesn't
That's
feel
right.
real, and I'm
That's
really
right.
struggling to say no because I'm worried about the consequences and the reactions and losing
Yeah.
relationships. And
That's right.
but over time I on a journey, and then suddenly one day it's just easy. And I don't know how it went from being really hard and really
Mm.
difficult and challenging and triggering to, I wouldn't say easy, but like, and I wouldn't say completely effortless effort. I'd love to get to that point,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but so much easier and more flow and natural, like not having to think, what was that
Well,
affirmation?
but I'm not
Someone's like,
just
how are you responsible for this? And I'm like, I'm not.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Like,
here's how it
whoa.
works. That part of us, when I say I haven't said it this way, but embrace the resistance is a short phrase for, I do this affirmation, I accept that I'm a soul learning through making choices, right? Or whatever it is, like I'm always safe, or whatever. When you embrace the resistance, meaning you're compassionately accepting that there is resistance, what's really happening is the part of you is being and feeling heard, therefore validated. Meaning, if I never judge, and this is the core of the Higher Self Protocol 1 process, which I'm about to schedule another one for later in the year, and so I'll put a link in this to that page, and then keep an eye out for dates. I need a few more days before to actually set the dates, but it'll be this. It's a 9-week course to deal with your emotions and learn how to do that. But this resistance is because we feel invalidated. I say, "Oh, I'm always safe." And part of me goes, "Well, here are the 9 billion reasons why I know that's not true, and you need to listen to me." So I say,
Mm,
"Oh, okay, tell me more." And the part says, "Well, that thing with that woman, and that thing with your dad, and that thing with this thing, and that thing, and blah, 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 blah." And, this thing happened, and there was no justice, and there's no fairness, and nobody listened. I'm like, "Okay, tell me more." And
mm,
because when they feel heard, they naturally reintegrate because they're not sitting in the corner with their arms crossed, being like, "You don't give a shit about me." I'm saying, I do give a crap about you.
mm,
Yeah, tell me more. That's the whole key to this whole process. We don't
mm,
deny the what hurts to try to avoid feeding the negative. And that's why
mm,
these spiritual teachings are so powerful. And again,
mm,
cards seem so simple, but they are a key. Yeah.
mm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
I almost
conversation
feel
has
like now
gone
I've been,
so many
yeah,
wonderful places I didn't expect it to, because it's like
yeah.
it's the cards, but it's like it's the everything. It's
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I
yeah,
almost feel like now, because I also didn't know I just was like, oh, we'll show the cards,
yeah. We'll
and
find out what
and
happens.
now it's
Yeah,
like, wow, it's almost an hour, but realizing that, like in retrospect, and I'm not done, but I feel like almost like I'm having a little like if I was rowing a canoe and I'm like where I am now, I've hit some ground again. There's some solidity in a
Yeah.
lot of the work that's been done, and it's taken time, and I've had gaps and breaks, and it's not
Yep.
like I did it for 7 years consistently or anything. But realizing almost like I, how do I want to phrase it? Like there's something more integrated and it feels there's a more almost like an like I said earlier, the software upgrade that I there's a part of me now that's online that's like all my choices are based in self-respect and lead to self-care. I have the power. I have the power to do that because in some situations we say, look at this evidence that I don't have the power to make a self-destruct. Look at the evidence that, you know, people treat me in this way and it must mean this. So the evidence that these wounded parts are showing, I was in such, I think, dissonance with like, yeah, that's right. So I want to believe this higher other thing that I'm hearing, but how do I believe that when I have all this evidence that I'm not safe or all this evidence that I'm, and so now there's like, oh, there's that, and I've listened to that over the years. There's also this like, but I can make choices, and yes, there are consequences. I may lose that project, I might lose that relationship, and what are my beliefs around that, and what are my fears around that? So now there's this I am safe because I'm choosing that as well. Like I know Jehudi speaks a lot about choosing, affirming, and I think I fought you slash Jehudi for. I'd be like, no, but like, no, you can't just affirm you're safe. What are you talking about? Like I grew up in South Africa, you know, like like you're talking nonsense. Like how does me affirming I'm safe make me safe? And so now I'm a little bit more realizing that like it's hard to even explain now, realizing the way I'm feeling is yes, there is this 3D reality, and i can I can ground in the reality of I as a creator, or as the person allowing thoughts. I allow these thoughts, these vibrations, these affirmations, these I affirm because I'm choosing that, and then my body and my whole experience is different than if I'm playing the record of the past. I think your mic has gone silent or
Oh,
dead.
thank you. Yeah, yeah. I just want to
Yeah.
make one little comment. This is the first time I'm using the mug as a mug. I'm gonna drink coffee out of this mug, and it is the all my relationships show me to myself.
Wow, reveal me to myself.
Reveal me to myself. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually realized I made an audio recording of that. I think that would be fun to release as well if people
Oh,
want to
cool.
hear my or your voice on these affirmations. And I think people like to consume content
Mm-hmm.
and or
Mm-hmm.
just things in different ways. So we should
Well, you
put it on the
mentioned the idea
cards,
of an
the audio.
expanded lower chakra deck, and there are 5 for the root, for example, but I have 18 total. I have 13 more that I haven't been published yet. So yeah, there's a lot of room to expand this stuff. Yeah, because
Mm.
yeah, these are just for like the big bells ringing, and then we have a lot of variants
I'm
that are
almost seeing
possible.
like the like you take the broom before you before you mop. It's like let's get this is the
Yeah,
main junk gunk,
that's right.
and then we'll
That's
go
right.
more and more deeper, more and more nuance. And I think that's the very interesting thing about the um, plutonic work. I guess it's so
Yeah.
much deeper than I could have ever imagined, but I feel so much stronger, more empowered, more
Hmm.
grateful,
Yeah,
and yeah, when you're willing to go and do the work and do the cleanup.
that's right. Well, I think that's a great place to
Mm.
wrap for today. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Zal.
For your efforts and your inspirations and the cards
Sure.
themselves. Yeah,
Sure. And yeah, if people
great.
want to know more about the cards, they can go to the link below and take a look.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Goodbye. Click
Bye.
links. Get stuff. Bye
I'm
bye.
gonna,
Enjoy life.
yeah, and print it however you want.
Yeah. Oh, one note on the printing.
Yes.
Cut them and then laminate them if you want to laminate them. I learned the hard way, like cutting this laminated thing, and I'm like, this is gonna fall apart. And the guy in the place was like, well, yeah. I was like, oh, okay.
So it
So,
depend,
yeah,
in your print shop, they usually could do a test run. So this was like a thicker card so that it's not paper. But if you want to
mm,
laminate, it is better to do paper and because you're now
I
putting
see.
laminate around it. So
Good
yes, you want to
note.
trim it. So basically on the print, there's white there's white space between because it comes out in a sheet. And I have the printers trim it for me because I don't have like the big, we call them a guillotine here, or I don't know,
Yeah,
paper
yeah,
cutter, what you call
yeah.
them.
Guillotine, sure.
Um, or guillotine. So, but you could potentially, I mean, you could potentially print it at home depending on your print setup at
Yeah,
home.
yeah,
But yeah, I just ask them to print sometimes on card and then trim it for me, or then like I said, or on the paper. And really, there's different. I mean, whatever your creativity allows for.
yeah. Thank you, Jacqueline. I'll see you soon.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank
bye
you.
everybody.